What happens aback a business mogul with an ego? The ad measurement of Manhattan walks assimilate backward night television cerebration. He owns the abode, abandoned to accommodate a host who refuses to comedy along. Tonight, we're diving into one of the best atomic moments in backward night television history. A battle so acute that it concluded with Aegis actuality alleged and a bedfellow actuality escorted off set. Accomplish abiding to hit that subscribe button and beat a animate version beneath, because this adventure has added twists than a New York pretzel. The blooming allowance at the Ed Sullivan Theater was active with its accepted pre-show energy. Makeup artists affected up faces while Assembly administration skirted about with clipboards, authoritative final preparations. Donald Trump sat in the covering chair, adjusting his tie and blockage his absorption in the mirror one added time. His media handler, a afraid woman in her 30s, kept casual at her watch. Remember, Mr. Trump, this is declared to be a blaze chat about your new book and maybe some absolute acreage ventures. David Brand to accumulate things conversational, maybe a little playful, she said, her articulation accustomed aloof a adumbration of concern. Trump coiled her off dismissively. I've been accomplishing television aback afore that gap to actor knew what a camera was. I perceive how to handle David Letterman. The abettor bit her lip, but said annihilation more. She had formed with abundant, high-profile admirers to admit a back edition was bent to do things their own way, behindhand of advice. Meanwhile, in his appointment adjoining to the studio, David Letterman was reviewing his addendum with his head writer. The cards were advance above his desk, Anniversary 1 absolute abeyant questions and capacity for the interview. So, we've got the book, the casinos. Maybe article about his golf courses, the biographer said, pointing to altered cards. Appealing accepted actuality for a Trump appearance. Letterman nodded. But there was article in his announcement that appropriate he had added plans. You know, I've been annual some absorbing accessories about his business practices lately. Some appealing alluring actuality about how he handles contractors and payments. The biographer looked up from his notes. Dave, you apperceive how he gets aback anyone questions his business methods. Remember the Aftermost Time edition brought up his bankruptcies on edition show? He absolved out. Maybe that's actually what needs to happen, Letterman replied, a slight beam bridge his face. Maybe it's Time edition asked the questions that actually balk instead of aloof casting softballs about his latest venture. 20 annual later, the accustomed strains of the backward appearance affair music abounding the flat as Letterman fabricated his entrance. The admirers acclaimed agilely as he delivered his monologue. There was an edge, a accurateness that appropriate he was advancing for added than aloof edition celebrity interview. Our abutting bedfellow is a man who needs no introduction, admitting he'll apparently accord himself one anyway. Letterman appeared to the audience, accepting a advantageous laugh. He's got a new book out. He builds things. He owns things. And he's got opinions about appealing abundant everything. Please, acceptable Donald Trump. Trump emerged from backstage with his appropriate assured stride. He befuddled easily with Letterman and acclimatized into the bedfellow chair, anon adjusting his position to face the admirers as abundant as the host. Donald, acceptable to see you again, Letterman began, ambiguity through his cards. Thanks for advancing on the show, Dave. Always a pleasure. You know, I adulation advancing on here. Abundant audience, abundant show. Though I accept to say your ratings could use a little work, Trump replied with what appeared to be an affable grin. Letterman's smile remained fixed, but his eyes narrowed slightly. Well, we're accomplishing aloof able in the ratings. Thanks for asking. So, acquaint us about this new book of yours. It's alleged The Art of the Comeback, and it's already a bestseller, which doesn't abruptness me because aggregate I draft turns to gold. It's about how I've affected every obstacle, every claiming that's been befuddled at me, and how anyone can do the aforementioned if they accept the appropriate mindset, and, let's be honest, the appropriate genes. The appropriate genes, Letterman repeated, adopting an eyebrow. Absolutely. You either accept it or you don't. You either accept the intelligence, the drive, the accustomed adeptness to succeed, or you're ashore in mediocrity or able life. It's aloof genetics, Dave. Some bodies are built-in winners. Some bodies are built-in losers. The admirers murmured uncomfortably at this statement, and Letterman leaned back in his chair, belief his bedfellow with renewed interest. That's an appealing, acrid way to attending at the world, don't you think? What about bodies who assignment adamantine but maybe didn't accept the aforementioned advantages as you had growing up? Trump's announcement accustomed slightly. Look, I started with a baby accommodation for my ancestor, and I congenital an empire. Anyone could accept done what I did if they had the eyes and the intelligence. The botheration is best bodies don't accept either. A baby loan? Letterman afresh slowly. What actually do you exceed a baby loan, Donald? Well, it was actor dollars, but in business terms that's a bridged change. I affronted that into billions. That's the affectionate of acknowledgement on advance that separates the aureate from the chaff. Letterman sat bottomward his cards and looked anon at Trump. A actor is a bridged change. Donald, do you accept any abstraction what a actor dollars agency to best families in America? That's added money than best bodies will see in their absolute lifetimes. Trump, confused in his chair, his media-able smile alpha to attending added forced. Dave, you're missing the point. It's not about the amount. It's about what you do with it. Best people, if you gave them actor dollars, they'd draft it on cars and vacations and accept annihilation to appearance for it in 5 years. I assorted it bags of times over. But don't you anticipate it's a little accent deafened to alarm a actor dollar accommodation from amoroso abridged change a back bodies are disturbing to pay their rent. The temperature in the flat seemed to bead several degrees. Trump's affable address was rapidly disappearing, replaced by article abundant added arresting and aggressive. Now, delay aloof a minute, Dave. I didn't appear on your appearance to be lectured about economics by an actor who apparently never fabricated a absolute business accommodation in his life. I congenital skyscrapers, casinos, golf courses. What accept you congenital besides a career authoritative fun of added people? Letterman smiled, but it wasn't an affable smile. Well, Donald, I congenital a career by allurement questions that body's appetite answered, and appropriate now. I'm analytical about article I apprehend afresh about how you handle the bodies who assignment for you. The flat admirers could faculty the about-face and atmosphere as Letterman leaned advanced in his chair. His announcement acceptable added serious. Trump's jaw anchored visibly, and he straightened up in his bench like a boxer, advancing for the abutting round. What actually are you accepting at, Dave? Trump asked, his articulation accustomed a admonishing accent that anyone accustomed with his attitude would admit immediately. Well, I've been annual some absorbing letters about contractors who formed on your properties. Apparently, there's the arrangement of them not accepting paid what they were promised. Baby business owners, ancestors' companies, bodies who did the assignment but somehow never accustomed their abounding compensation. Trump's face ablaze red and his easily absorbed the accoutrements of his chair. That is actually false. And frankly, I'm angered that you would accompany up debris like that on civic television. My aggregation pays anybody actually what they deserve. And we accept some of the best acknowledged teams in the country to accomplish abiding all our affairs are ironclad. But Donald, these aren't aloof rumors. There are cloistered documents, acknowledged filings from dozens of contractors over the years. Are you adage all of these bodies are lying? I'm adage that in business, Dave. Sometimes bodies don't alive up to their end of the bargain. Sometimes assignment isn't completed on time, or it's not up to standards, or there are accepted disputes about quality. That's business. That's the absolute world, not some fantasy acreage area anybody gets a cord trophy. Letterman confused through some affidavit on his board, and Trump's eyes followed the movement nervously. So, a baby electrical aggregation in Atlantic City says you owed them $80,000 for assignment on one of your casinos, and they concluded up clearing for $20,000 aloof to abstain bankruptcy. That's their accountability for not accomplishing affection work. I don't apperceive what specific case you're talking about. And frankly, I don't acknowledge you ambushing me with this nonsense. You said this was activity to be about my book and my success story, not some hit job based on annoyed contractors who apparently couldn't cut it in the aggressive industry. The admirers was actually bashful now, watching this barter with the allure of bodies witnessing a car blow in apathetic motion. Letterman's bandaged baton, Paul Schaefer, looked afflictive abaft his keyboard, acutely borderline whether this was planned brawl or 18-carat conflict. "Donald, I'm not ambushing you. I'm allurement accepted questions about your business practices. These are accessible records, cloister filings that anyone can attending up. I'm aloof, apprehensive how you absolve abrogation, baby business owners, aerial and dry." Trump stood up partially from his armchair afore sitting aback down, his agitation acceptable added accessible by the second. "You appetite to apperceive how I absolve it? I absolve it by architecture a multi-billion-dollar ascendancy while creating bags of jobs and accidental added to the abridgment than you any time will. I absolve it by actuality acknowledged in a boxy business while guys like you sit in studios and booty bargain shots." "Sit down, Donald. We're not done here," Letterman said firmly, his articulation accustomed the ascendancy of addition, who had been authoritative his date for decades. "I anticipate the admirers deserves to accept how addition, who claims to be such a abundant agent, can leave so abounding bodies captivation the bag. Don't acquaint me to sit down." Trump attacked back, his articulation rising. "This is declared to be an interview, not an interrogation. I've been advancing on allocution shows best than you've been hosting them, and I apperceive the aberration amid accepted questions and a bureaucracy job." "A bureaucracy job? Donald, these are your own business records. I'm not authoritative annihilation up. I'm aloof annual from cloister abstracts that are a bulk of accessible record. If allurement about your accurate business practices is a bureaucracy job, maybe the botheration isn't with the questions." Trump was now aptitude advanced aggressively, pointing his feel at Letterman. "You apperceive what your botheration is, Dave. You've been accomplishing this appearance so connected that you anticipate you're some affectionate of journalist. But you're not a journalist. You're an amateur and not alike a actual acceptable one anymore. Your time is up and anybody knows it except you." The admirers gasped audibly at this claimed attack. Letterman's announcement blurred, and for a moment the affable bluff of the backward night television actually disappeared. "My time is up. Let me acquaint you something, Donald. I've been in this business connected abundant to admit a annoyer aback I see one. And appropriate now, I'm attractive at a guy who thinks he can alarm his way out of answering accepted questions about how he treats alive people. You appetite to allocution about bullying? You arrive me actuality beneath apocryphal pretenses. You're advancing my acceptability with counterfeit claims, and you're accomplishing it in advance of a civic television audience. If anyone's the annoyer here, it's you, unsubstantiated. Donald, I accept the cloister abstracts appropriate here. I can apprehend you the case numbers if you want. These aren't allegations. These are acknowledged judgments, settlements, accurate cases area your aggregation agreed to pay beneath than what was originally owed." Trump was now actually continuing, his face red with anger. "You apperceive what, Dave? I don't charge this. I don't charge to sit actuality and accept to some done-up actor try to accomplish himself attending important by disturbing bottomward addition who's actually able article in life. Sit aback down. We're in the average of an interview. The annual is over. I'm done with this garbage," Trump declared, starting to abolish his microphone. Letterman stood up as well, his articulation assent to bout his guest's intensity. "You can't aloof airing abroad every time addition asks you a boxy question. That's not how the absolute apple works. The absolute world. You appetite to allocution about the absolute world. In the absolute world, Dave, after effects matter. Success matters. I congenital an ascendancy, while you congenital a career, authoritative, brainless animal, tricks famous. In the absolute apple anymore." The admirers was now aside louder, with some bodies calling out for Trump to sit bottomward and others appearing to abutment his position. The activity in the allowance was electric and alarming, like a crumb keg cat and mouse for a spark. Letterman confused afterpiece to Trump's chair, his articulation baleful serious. In the absolute world, Donald acknowledged bodies don't charge to annealed contractors to accomplish their accumulation margins work. Acknowledged bodies annual their commitments and amusement their workers with respect. What you're anecdotic isn't success, it's exploitation. Exploitation. You appetite to see exploitation. Attending at how television networks amusement their employees. How they abolish shows afterwards warning. How they bandy bodies abroad the minute their ratings drop. Don't address me about corruption aback your absolute industry is congenital on application bodies up and spitting them out. We're not talking about the television industry. We're talking about your business practices and your accurate history of not advantageous what you owe. Trump was now actually removing his microphone, his movements aciculate and angry. I don't owe you or anyone abroad in this admires an annual for how I run my businesses. I've been added acknowledged than anyone in this allowance and who, ailing in the 80s. The Astriction had accomplished a breaking point and anybody in the flat could feel that article was about to breeze completely. The flat had adapted into article akin a battle arena with 2 heavyweights ambit anniversary added and an admirers that couldn't attending away. Trump had actually removed his microphone and was captivation it in his duke like a weapon, while Letterman stood abaft his desk, application it as a barrier amid himself and his added airy guest. You apperceive what, Dave? You appetite to comedy adamantine ball? Let's comedy adamantine ball. Trump snarled, his articulation now loud, abundant to backpack above the flat afterwards amplification. You appetite to allocution about my business practices? Let's allocution about yours. How abundant do you pay your writers? How abundant do you pay the bodies who accomplish this appearance accessible while you booty home millions? Letterman's articulation remained steady, but there was animate underneath. This isn't about me, Donald. This is about you and your accurate arrangement of cheating alive bodies out of money they've earned. Cheating? That's slander, Dave, and you apperceive it. That's actionable slander. And I accept witnesses, Trump said, gesturing berserk against the audience. You aloof accused me of cheating bodies on civic television afterwards a atom of proof. I accept cloister documents, Donald. I accept acknowledged settlements. I accept accurate cases area your aggregation agreed to pay beneath than the apprenticed amount. That's not slander. That's advertisement facts. Trump took a footfall afterpiece to Letterman's desk, his finger pointing accusingly. Those are business disputes, not cheating. That's how agreement works in the absolute world. Sometimes affairs get adjourned, aback affairs change. A back assignment affection doesn't accommodated standards. A back timelines aren't met. Affairs like a baby business buyer who can't allow to action you in cloister for years. Affairs like bodies who charge to augment their families and can't delay for your attorneys to accomplishment arena games. The admirers was now actively accommodating with some bodies shouting abutment for one ancillary or the other. The atmosphere had become chaotic, added like a political assemblage than a television taping. You don't apperceive what you're talking about, Trump attacked back. You sit in your ivory belfry authoritative jokes about bodies who actually assignment for a living, who actually body things, who actually actualize value. Your annihilation but a bacteria agriculture off added people's accomplishments. Letterman came about from abaft his desk, effective afterpiece to Trump. A parasite, Donald. I've been absorbing bodies for 30 years. I've accustomed bags of bodies jobs. I've accurate charities. I've acclimated this belvedere to advice people. What except you done besides adorn yourself? What except I done? I've congenital hotels that apply bags of people. I've created jobs in construction, hospitality, entertainment. I've revitalized absolute neighborhoods and brought business to areas that were dying. I've done added for alive bodies than you any time will, by not advantageous them what you owe them, by giving them opportunities they never would accept had otherwise. Trump accursed back, his articulation extensive a agitation pitch. By demography, risks that actualize employment, by advance in projects that added bodies are too afraid to touch. That's leadership, Dave, aimlessly signaling to addition off stage. This had gone far above annihilation they had planned or could control, and the bearings was breakable rapidly. Leadership. Letterman laughed bitterly. Administration is befitting your word. Administration is anniversary your commitments. Administration is not ambuscade abaft attorneys aback bodies ask you to pay what you owe. Trump, aback, airtight, the microphone bottomward on Letterman's board with abundant force to accomplish aggregate on it jump. I don't accept to this debris from addition who's never congenital anything, never risked anything, never put his own money on the band for annihilation worthwhile. Get abroad from my desk, Donald. Accomplish me. The words afraid in the air like a challenge, and for a moment it seemed like these two men ability actually appeared to advance on civic television. The admirers had gone actually quiet, analysis that they were witnessing article aberrant and potentially dangerous. Letterman's articulation abandoned to a whisper, but it agitated above the bashful studio. I'm allurement, you one added time to sit bottomward so we can accomplishment this annual like adults. Adults? You appetite to act like adults? Adults don't ambuscade their guests with appearance assassinations. Adults don't allure, addition assimilate their appearance beneath apocryphal pretenses, and afresh advance them with counterfeit accusations. They're not counterfeit, and you apperceive it. Every chat I've said is accurate and verifiable. Trump best up the microphone afresh, and for an alarming moment it looked like he ability bandy it at Letterman. Instead, he captivated it up like he was about to allege into it. Afresh seemed to change his mind. You apperceive what the aberration is amid you and me, Dave? I action back. Aback bodies advance me. I don't aloof sit there and booty it like some aerated dog. I action aback and I win. This isn't a fight, Donald. This is an annual area, your actuality asked to annual for your actions. Annual for my actions. To who? To you. You're nobody, Dave. You're a bootless actor who got advantageous with a time slot. And now you anticipate you're some affectionate of moral authority. Well, let me acquaint you article about moral authority. Afore Trump could continue, 2 Aegis guards appeared at the bend of the stage, acutely accepting been summoned by the producer, who is now arresting in the wings, authoritative, burning Duke gestures. Trump noticed the Aegis guards and his announcement afflicted from acrimony to outrage. Are you badinage me? You're calling Aegis on me. On your own guest, I didn't alarm anyone, Donald, but maybe you should accede why they acquainted the charge to appear out here. This is unbelievable. This is actually unbelievable. I appear on your appearance as a courtesy, as a favor, to addition your affecting ratings, and this is how you amusement me with ambuscade questions and Aegis guards. One of the Aegis guards stepped forward, his articulation calm but firm. Sir, we're activity to charge you to appear with us. Don't draft me, Trump snapped, a betman abroad from the guard. I apperceive my rights, and I apperceive advance aback, I see it. Nobody's affecting you, sir. We're aloof allurement you to appear with us. Trump looked about the flat wildly, as if analytic for allies or escape routes. The admirers was watching in abashed silence. Cameras were still rolling, and Letterman stood abaft his board with his accoutrements crossed, cat and mouse to see how this would end. This is activity to be the better aberration you any time made, Dave. The better aberration of your career. Aback bodies see how you advised a guest, a acknowledged agent who came actuality in acceptable faith. Your appearance is finished. My appearance will be fine, Donald. The catechism is whether you'll be able afterwards bodies see how you handle actuality. Asked, accepted questions about your business practices. Trump started walking against the Aegis guards, but affronted aback one added time. You're done up, Dave. Your time is over, and anybody knows it except you. This affecting attack to breach accordant by advancing acknowledged bodies is aloof embarrassing. Thanks for endlessly by. As Trump was escorted off the stage, he connected shouting aback at Letterman. You'll affliction this, Dave. Mark my words, you'll affliction this. Cipher treats Donald Trump like this and gets abroad with it. The Aegis guards abolished with Trump into the wings. Abrogation Letterman abandoned on the date with the abashed admirers and a board that looked like a blow had hit it. He straightened his tie, smoothed bottomward his hair, and looked anon into the camera. Well, folks, that's article you don't see every day. Will be appropriate aback afterwards this bartering break. As the appearance cut to commercial, the admirers sat in complete silence, aggravating to action what they had aloof witnessed. In the wings, producers were aimlessly authoritative buzz calls, and about in the building, Donald Trump was actuality escorted to his car, still blubbering about lawsuits and revenge. That concludes one of the best atomic confrontations in backward night television history. What do you think? Was Letterman appropriate to columnist Trump on his business practices, or did he go too far in how he handled his guest? Bead your thoughts in the comments below, and accomplish abiding to subscribe for added absurd belief from the apple of entertainment.